Your connective tissue remembers patterns you forgot. Imagine your body as a vast, silent database storing every movement, stressor, and shift in alignment over decades. We always thought that information was stored only chemically in the brain. But what if it's physically encoded in the fascia itself? That subtle strain held within muscle fiber or ligament isn't just static damage, it's mechanical language. When tissue is perpetually stressed, like holding tension for too long, the structure changes at a microscopic level, writing an epigenetic signature into the cellular code. This process of mechanotransduction means that external physical forces translate directly into internal biochemical instructions. Your posture doesn't just affect your muscles, it programs your cells. It's more than just cells receiving instructions. They are constantly listening to their physical environment. Think of connective tissue not as passive scaffolding, but as a massive array of highly sensitive mechanical sensors. Key structures called integrins act like microscopic load-bearing thermometers, translating tiny shifts in extracellular matrix tension directly into biochemical signals inside the cell. This process is even more intricate. Specific vibrations can activate mechanosensitive ion channels, the same kinds found on nerve cells, allowing subtle frequencies to influence cellular function across multiple organ systems at once. Your body isn't just a machine. It's an incredibly resonant, self-monitoring system that speaks in structural signatures. What if your connective tissue was just a receiver of signals, but an actual hard drive? Long-term patterns of physical stress don't just cause temporary strain, they physically rewrite the code in living cells themselves. This is how our body creates somatic memory, a durable fingerprint based on every habitual movement or shift you ever made. Think of your fascia as a distributed computation network where localized tension dictates systemic information transfer, like a vast architectural blueprint constantly updating itself with stress loads. Which means something nobody expected for the relationship between physical posture and long-term genetic expression. And if this structural history is dictating our biological state, how do we measure it without invasiveness? The question of how do we measure this invisible physical imprint without sticking needles in people? We need something that reads the whole orchestra, not just one instrument. Imagine your body tension isn't localized stress. It's like subtle radio waves bouncing through all your connective tissue, a systemic resonance signature. These tiny oscillations can activate those mechanosensitive ion channels we talked about earlier across entire organ systems simultaneously. The challenge is translating that pattern of cellular whisper into a quantifiable metric for alignment or dysfunction. But some researchers argue this whole field lacks robust data on frequency specificity, claiming the effect is purely stochastic noise. If true, who's right? We are standing at the edge of mapping your body's language using its own structural vibrations. Forget trying to map these vibrations like radio signals for just a moment. Let's look at what those patterns actually do once they get inside the cell. That physical stress, that structural history encoded in your connective tissue architecture isn't just an old wound waiting to heal. It is literally rewriting biological instructions over time. We are talking about mechanical cues translating into lasting cellular signatures, a durable bodily wisdom written directly into how your genes function. Imagine every bad habit or persistent misalignment you ever had physically dictating the blueprint of your health decades later. This process fundamentally transforms physical tension from a passive symptom into an active, systemic determinant of life quality itself. But if this mechanical history is controlling gene expression and cellular fate across multiple systems simultaneously, then what happens when that signature crosses a critical threshold? This suggests that when a body's accumulated physical history shifts past certain points, the internal chaos stops being random noise. It becomes patternable. We aren't just talking about local damage. We are observing the emergence of an overarching energetic architecture, a unique systemic resonance signature. Think of it like tuning forks. Every individual vibration tells you everything about its origin and health, even if you can only listen to one in a massive orchestra. This means that these deep structural patterns might be readable from the outside. But here is the radical shift. Some believe this signal isn't just descriptive, it's as predictive, signaling changes long before any cellular failure shows up on standard diagnostics. If we could map that resonance perfectly, what would it actually tell us? What does a perfect map of that resonance tell us? It tells us your body speaks in measurable metrics. It gives objective proof to internal subjective states like feeling out of alignment. We are moving past merely observing dysfunction. We move toward precise detection. Think of it as the difference between guessing if a machine is sick and reading its real-time diagnostic code. This isn't about finding one sore spot. It's understanding the whole systemic dialogue, mapping how subtle tension patterns dictate your future cellular architecture. The actionable insight here is recognizing that self-correction starts not by treating symptoms, but by monitoring the global integrity of those deep structural patterns. Pay attention to where you feel resistance systemically. The full research archive is at jmtomasofficial.com. We have shown that your body is a self-reporting machine whose structural language dictates its biological fate. This moves us beyond treating symptoms and into predictive system diagnostics. Imagine not just waiting for an earthquake, but measuring the microseismic patterns long before fault lines shift. That's the difference this research offers, translating subtle systemic tension signatures into anticipatory models of cellular resilience or impending imbalance. The ultimate takeaway is understanding that sustained self-correction requires us to monitor global structural integrity, not local discomfort. We are moving from passive observation to active system mastery, reading the architectural blueprint before it fails. This knowledge changes everything about longevity and alignment as we know them. The full research archive is at jmtomasofficial.com.